Hi guys, Kaiser here, and welcome back to Age of Empires 3. In today's video, I'm going to be showcasing a civilization that I do not believe is receiving nearly enough attention, the Ethiopians. Introduced in the African Royals DLC alongside the Hausa, the Ethiopians are a somewhat complex civ. Their opening moves can be a little bit difficult to get the hang of, but once you do get the hang of them, then they have a bunch of really exciting tools at their disposal, and they're quickly becoming one of my favorite civilizations in the game. So I've definitely enjoyed them, I'm looking forward to showcasing them, and I hope you guys enjoy the video. Let's go ahead and dive right in. And we're not just looking at the Ethiopians, but we're also going to be looking at a semi-fast fortress build, which I am calling the Vindian, because this was a build created by a player named Vindian. And he's a really good player at the game. I've got a link in the description below to where he explains the build. And no spoilers, but he's going to do a better job of the build than I will, and I'll go through that as we play. But let's go ahead and dive into today's video. It's going to be a lot of fun here. And before I unpause, notice one thing very quickly. You not only have your starting villagers and your hero, the Ras, but you also have a livestock market builder. And when you play a game with the Ethiopians, the very first thing you want to do is select that market builder and get your market down right away. You want to get these 3 zebu cattle fattening up as quickly as possible because they're going to be a source of a lot of your early game economic strength. Now the next thing we need to do, we've got our villagers here working on food. As soon as they finish working on this one cattle, you want to put them on a herd. But you don't just want them hunting, you also want one of them to build a free granary. These granaries do not cost resources, and they are extremely powerful tools in the Ethiopian arsenal. They do 2 things worth noting. One, they slowly draw in nearby hunt. So it makes it a lot easier for your hunters to actually get to the deer, to collect the meat. Makes your life a lot easier, right? But not only does it draw them in, it also gives all nearby hunters and farmers a 10% faster work rate. So that means that your early food economy is going to be just so much stronger than your opponent. You can see right here, this is 0.92 food per second. And I'm going to pause really quickly. 0.92 food per second versus 0.84 food per second. So right here, the Ethiopians have a really great early food economy. And that's not even factoring in some of the technical moves I'm just making. I got to pause so I can actually showcase this. I had 3 zebu cattle. I'm down to 2. Why? Because zebu cattle are pretty unique. They don't just fatten up like normal sheep or cows or whatever, but you can actually sell them at the livestock market for wood or coin. And I just sold one of my cattle right away as soon as, you see these 2 buttons over here? They're going to be slowly trickling up in value. The wood value of my cattle had just hit 150 wood, and I immediately sold that sucker. Why? I want to spend 100 wood right away to build a hut, and with the remaining 50 wood, I wanted to pick up this tech, Village Dogs. This is our tier 1 hunting technology, which will make our villagers even better at farming, going up from 0.92 to 0.97 food per second. Just making us that much better at our food economy. So we're developing our early economy on nothing but food, trying to get up to the 2nd age as quickly as possible. Now I've just received enough experience for my first shipment. Here's the build that, again, I'm calling the Vindian. I'm following his build exactly. I think I'll tool it a little bit to my own preferences. But what we're going to do, we're going to send 2 of these cards back to back with our first 2 shipments. This is called Trinity. We receive 2 villagers and 1 Aben. An Aben is a healer, a priest, but he also can, and he's actually pretty cool, he's the only healer that can heal during combat. Like whether he's in combat or a unit is in combat, he can actually heal while fighting, and no other healer can do that. But the other thing that he can do, which is particularly important for us, is he can build a mountain monastery. Well, what's that? We'll talk about that in just 1 second. Right now, I'm moving the Aben out into the center of the map so I can build that monastery, and we're going to see what's up there in just a second. Meanwhile, my opponent, I haven't talked about him at all, in the red. Ehe, Clan AEGE, Agent Rodri Andrade, playing as the Swedes, which is really fun. I think Sweden is another civilization that has fallen off a little bit in popularity, but I think that they are a lot of fun to play. Karelians are a really fun heavy infantry unit.
Hello.
Up here, I'm making a little bit of a mistake. I accidentally engage on these two gunmen, and I do not have the HP for it. He's going to go down in a little bit. Kind of embarrassing. All right, here we go. Right here, 150 wood to build a mountain monastery. Did I sell another cattle? Yes, I did. I sold another cattle to get down this mountain monastery. And this is a really cool building. It automatically gathers coin from the mine, right? You can see 0.65 coin per second and 0.22 influence per second. That's another thing about the Ethiopians that's really cool is their influence. I'll talk about that in a little bit. But this mountain monastery, it's gathering coin automatically. The Aben, that healer priest, can also gather coin from mountain monasteries, right? So he's also working and creating 0.65 coin per second, 0.22 influence per second. That is really helping out my early eco. And not only does it serve as an economic building, it's also a really good scouting building. Look at how much of the map this one building is showcasing me. And that's why I'm moving out with the warrior priests. Vindian suggests, if possible, identify your opponent's secondary silver mines, like this guy right here or this guy right here. Try, if you can, to get a mountain monastery down there. You can use the building to maybe scout out your opponent. You can also use it to kind of claim his resources before he's able to take advantage of them. Right? You see, he's kind of doing something similar with the Torps, trying to collect from his mines. But I'm using my mountain monasteries to get a really good line of sight over most of the map. I have sent a second Trinity card, so I have a second Aben out. And here's where I do make one mistake. I deviate from the Vindian strategy on accident. What Vindian will suggest to do is put all of your villagers, as soon as you tech up, get all of your villagers on wood so that you can afford to throw down a second monastery with your second Aben as soon as you can. I don't really do that. Instead, I deviate. I just sort of split my eco from food, wood, coin. It will slow down my my mountain monastery timing, but it won't be too bad. I do have 150 wood. And I picked, by the way, this is something else that's unique about the Vindian, is he says always go Habesha. So whenever you tech up with the Ethiopians, you're picking an African tribe or a people group that you're allying with. And he says always go with the Habesha. They give you a mountain monastery builder, that's a free mountain monastery, which I'll throw down right here, and a camp builder. This will let you build either a defensive tower or a barracks, and I'm going to go with the barracks. I want to try to get pressure on my opponent. I'm moving out into the middle of the map. That might be a little bit risky. This may be a little bit too risky. I have snares coming in. This will help my farmers, my hunters collect even faster from the deer, trying to take advantage of those really, really awesome granaries. I've got another shipment. And again, if I'm following the Vindian correctly, this is where I'm making mistakes, right? I could have showcased to you the perfect game where I just crush my opponent, but where's the fun in that, right? I'm going to showcase some of the mistakes that I'm making here. And one mistake I'm making, Vindian suggests sending the 700 wood as your third shipment. And I think that gives you a lot of flexibility. You can use that to get out some of your heavy infantry, the Gaskenia. I really choke up on that with my economy. I don't send the wood, and I'm trying to spend wood to create buildings, and I'm going to use it to try to get some Gaskenia out. And it's just kind of a complex thing here. Oh, here's where I make it out alive. Psh, ridiculous. I can actually, this is pretty cool. My Ross, I make a mistake. He loses a lot of HP, right? Well, I can bring him over to the Aben, give it just a couple of seconds, and he'll be right back in tip-top shape, and I'll go collect that treasure. But I don't ship the wood, and that means that I'm making a couple of mistakes. One, I don't have the economy to really get Gaskenia out comfortably. On top of that, you know, my eco right now, I'm doing a much better job with food and gold. I probably should have gotten out a handful of the Shotel Warrior, which is a very fast-moving shock infantry unit. Basically, it's like a cavalry unit, except it's on foot. But it's a very fast-moving infantry unit. I could use that to raid, and then pop out some Gaskenia behind that. Instead, my goal is to just get Gaskenia out. Maybe I can do some damage, do a little bit of distracting, and that will set me up to go into the third age and overwhelm with some of my powerful age 3 units.
Hello.
I will collect this food this time. I am shipping in tokens of 700 influence, and now's a pretty good time to talk about influence. It's one of Ethiopia's really exciting elements. Because with many of the things that you're doing as the Ethiopians, like with these mountain monasteries, I guess that would be the main source of influence. You're not just collecting coin, but you're also collecting influence. And that's basically a free resource on top of your food, your wood, your coin. And it's a free resource that you can spend on mercenaries, for example. Maybe, you know, instead of having to spend coin to get these mercs out, you can just use some of the free influence that you picked up to get out these mercs. And we do see here, this is where I have made something of a mistake. My raid is not working very effectively. Rodri Andrade going pretty heavily into age 2, it looks like, getting Caroleans out. And no doubt his Caroleans are going to be better than my Gaskenia. You see, mano a mano, I think the Gaskenia is a stronger unit. He's got 24 damage to the Caroleans 19, so a really good unit, but numbers, man. 3 on 10. Not a good fight, right? Not to mention, actually, one other thing I should factor in here. Let me see, what is that ranged? Okay, no, they both resist melee damage. Yeah. So I thought the Caroleans actually resist ranged damage, but no, they both resist melee damage. Making them very good if they have to fight Cav or what have you. Yeah, so there goes that raid. It keeps him at home base, which is not terrible, but yeah, look at that. He's got some leather cannons out too. These are skirmisher-like units, kind of like the Avis gunner for the Ottomans. Artillery that does a really good job fighting infantry, which is kind of bad for me because I'm going to be all about infantry. Finally get some Shotel Warriors out. I think I got it backwards, but I am on my way up to the third age. So we are collecting that free influence. You can use them to pick up these mercenary cards with the influence, right? Or, what I need to do, save the influence, and then in age 3, I'm going to try to pick up this Sebastopol mortar right away. That one's actually a freebie. I don't use influence on that. But if I need to pick up any other artillery, you have to build a palace. You see Menelik Gebi coming up here. I believe that's the name of the palace. You're going to be getting a palace up as soon as you can. This stings. He's pushing me off of this mountain monastery. I don't like it. I am pulling the Avens back. I'm gonna try to save them because again, they're not just healers. They are eco units. They can mine. This palace is too greedy. I've got to pull back from this. Tell me that I delete this. I start on it. I pull back, save the villagers, and then just throw away the wood. No fun. You need that palace up, and if you need any other artillery, this is one of the big weaknesses of the Ethiopians. In order to play the Ethiopians, you need to use influence to buy artillery. You can't use your coin, you can't use your food, you gotta use influence. So, if you spend all of your influence on artillery and then you're not carefully protecting them, you lose artillery. As the Ethiopians, you're kind of stuck, right? You gotta wait for that influence to slowly trickle up. I guess the main sources of influence, you've got the mountain monasteries. It's also true that your Zebu cattle, which looks like there we go. As they are feasting at the livestock marketplace, they will slowly generate influence as well. And you can pick up a tech that will make them generate more influence. So those are the ways that you can put your resources into getting influence. But let's stop talking about the eco right now, because we've got a fight going on. I have finally hit age 3, and that allows me to get out the Neftenya. He's already at the elite level, These guys are really awesome skirmishers. Really good in H3. The issue for me right now is numbers. I'm using the Avens in the background to try to heal up as much as I can. They get him blasted by the leather cannons. That's no fun. I want to get the Showtails around and try to hit these cannons from a distance. He won't let me do that, so instead I'm going to try to raid, get the pressure off of me, and back, focused in on his base. As of this recording, the Nilly's Apartment Cup 5 for Age of Empires 2 just wrapped up. So I've been watching a lot of Age of Empires Pro play, and what you see the pros do a lot. If they're being pressured and they cannot take a direct fight, then just create an indirect fight. Go raid your opponent somewhere where they're not, and try to get the pressure off of you. And that's what I was trying to do there. I think I just lost Showtail Warriors more than anything, but you know what? It worked. I mean, he pulls the army back, and for at least a little while there, he stops and focuses in on other things. I'm trying to mass up my numbers here. Looking at the economy, as bad as this looks for me right now from a military point of view, and this is not going the way I'd want. What I would have hoped would have happened is my semi-fast fortress early raids would have been more effective at slowing him down. And then I get into Age 3, I get a big mass of Gaskenya and Neftenia, and I just win the game on a strong infantry push with the Sebastopol mortar behind it. Right? See here, my opponent is shipping Hessian Jaegers. We have the Jaeger on the field. Light infantry mercenary units. Very good against heavy infantry. Fortunately, I'm mostly going light infantry myself, so he won't counter me too badly with those. But here, I've already shipped the Sebastopol mortar. Okay, wait a minute. I didn't see the Sebastopol mortar in that last fight. No, there it is right there. Good. He accidentally went over to the coin mine because that's where I was sending bills. And what we'll notice... well, we can't really notice that right now. Notice how these buildings do not provide that much in the way of area line of sight, right? But here we go. We got a big fight coming in. We have... How many is that? We got 28 Caroleans, 10 Jaegers, and 5 Hussar against my 9 Showtail Warriors and 20 Neftenia. I'm definitely relying on the Neftenia to do a lot of counter damage to the Caroleans. But then here come these Hussar. Perfectly, timed. I mean, he's countering my counter rather well. The Sebastopol mortar. A really powerful artillery unit. Gonna do a lot of good damage. Very hard to get on the field. They cost, if you try to buy these guys out of the palace, they cost a lot of influence. So you're definitely going to want to protect this guy very carefully. So this is telling me, I mean, I wanted to go all in Neftenia. I was hoping he'd just mass up nothing but Caroleans, but he's got a good mixed army. And so now I'm kind of in a tough back and forth between, do I get up more of the Neftenia, which is kind of my main unit. If we pull up the deck here, we see that I've got cards like Zebenyas, which will give my Neftenia more HP, Tigre Mekonnen, which gives them extra attack. I think down here I've got another one too that does something similar. Ethiopian ranged infantry attack and HP increase. So the Neftenia are kind of my main guys. But I'm also going to need a counter for these artillery. You can see we've got Hakapellet and Hussar on the field. If I don't get out some kind of response to that cav, I'm in trouble. And here we go. I'm using my influence to ship 10 Jesuit allies, the Conquistadors. The Conquistadors are dragoon-like units. Preparado. Here they come. They're on their way. Move them up to the center line here. We got to be able to counter that. We're also trying to get out some more Gaskenya. These guys, of course, are heavy infantry, and just like the tooltip tells us, Ethiopian heavy infantry, good against heavy cavalry and light cavalry. Now, if you're a fan of the channel, you've heard me mention it before, but if you're new, you might be wondering, Kaiser, what is this tooltip? It's really cool. It showcases a lot more information than what I have in my game, and that's because this is a mod that I actually created myself. It's called the Better Unit Descriptions mod. which you can find it in the AoE3 mod browser,
See?
and it gives you a lot more information in the tooltips, whether you're mousing over a unit. Oh, not that guy. There we go. Whether you're mousing over a unit or whether you actually click in and hover over the portrait, it gives you a lot of information about what these units are in kind of the basic, who was heavy infantry and light infantry and heavy cav and light cav. It gives you that info. It also gives you some comparison, so you can tell at a glance how the Gasquenia, for example, might compare to a generic musketeer. You can see here, the Gasquenia is overall a much stronger unit than the musketeer. You got more movement speed, more rate of fire, better damage, and it costs food and wood instead of food and coin, which I have here as a positive, but maybe that's, in some cases, kind of like this game, it's a little bit of a negative because, well, here we go. Let me stop talking. We got a fight going on. I'm moving forward with my Gasquenia and the Jesuits, trying to do damage to the cavalry. I'm gonna have to pull them back, though, because I don't want the Tsar on my artillery. Ah, the stings. Get them back. Get them back. So, I don't want the conquistadors fighting the Caroleans anyway. Caroleans are really good because they actually do counter damage to cavalry from range. Most musketeers have to get into melee range in order to do their anti-cav damage. This fight does not go well for me. The Hussar are able to mass up. They knock out my artillery. They knock out my Gasquenia and my conquistadors. So I've got nothing but Neftenia left. I'm trying my hardest to kill off these Hussar so that I can get out of here without my units being snared. Because as you AoE3 fans know, when you have a melee unit attacking an enemy, that enemy is snared and it moves slower than it otherwise would for a period of time. But now it's just gunfight versus gunfight, so I can pull this back whenever I want to. Caroleans initiate their glorious charge ability. So they go into melee range, pick up a lot of movement speed, and I'm in trouble, guys. Military's not looking so hot right now. We've got, for my opponent, 10 Jaegers still. He's not lost a single mercenary unit. And 19 Caroleans up against my 12 Neftenia. It's kind of rough for me. But fortunately, he does not press his advantage. He pulls back. He's a little bit concerned about consolidating his forces. You do see that he has some falconets that he wants to move into. Now check this out. Ethiopians so cool. I am rebuilding my mountain monastery, giving me glorious line of sight. And thanks to that mountain monastery, I can tell he's got cannons up. I can see, without him realizing it, he does not see the mountain monastery. He moves inches so close and does not see that mountain monastery. So he doesn't know that I know what he's got, right? He's got 31 vills right now. I have 40. So as difficult as the economy, as the military side of things is right now, and I've lost several battles, from a economic point of view, I think I'm doing very well. Now he does have the torps. I do have the mountain monasteries. So let's compare the numbers. Right now he's got 400 on food, 400 food per minute, 350 wood, 350 coin. I've got 900 on food, 900 per minute on food, 380 on wood, 400 on wood, and 250 on coin. So overall, yeah, I'm doing well economically. If this game goes on long enough, if he gives me enough breathing room, that economy will mean that I should hopefully win this thing. I'm getting out more cattle. And again, I've mentioned this already, but the Zebu cattle are so awesome because you can either sell a cattle to get a quick infusion of coin or wood as you need it, which is amazing. And each cattle only costs 100 coin. So you buy for 100, a little bit later you can sell for 500. Right? It's an awesome economic strength. And if you're able to leave them alone, if you don't need the cattle, they're slowly trickling in more influence. And that means more artillery or more mercenaries or what have you. Speaking of mercenaries, I've just shipped another card that helps my Neftenia, British Firearms. This ships Harquebusier and improves the range damage of all Ethiopian infantry and cav units equipped with firearms. That's not the Gasquenia, unfortunately, but it is the Neftenia being helped by that. Now, the Hakabusier, this is actually, I'm going to do a little bit of advertising for my Better Unit Description mod, because I make a mistake here. I look at this card, I see a guy on a horse with a gun, and I think to myself, okay, well that must be, you know, a light cav unit, a dragoon unit. And I go into this fight thinking it's light cav, but no, this is actually a heavy cavalry unit that does actually happen to have a ranged attack. So, I kind of go into this fight backwards, thinking about it the wrong way, and all I'd have to do to check that is hover over this unit, and I can tell, oh, wait a minute, heavy cav. It's good against light infantry and artillery. I should not take these guys into a fight against light cavalry, but I think that's exactly what I do in this battle. Let's find out. Doing a little bit of raiding. I'm trying to make sure that the pressure stays on my opponent so that my economy has more time to manifest itself into a better military. We do see here a settler coming out for the Swedes. I think he's trying to build out his economy to the south, trying to get out from this little, you know, fortress Sweden that he has here. Karelians, Hussar. Here we go, here's a fight. Bad fight for me. Arquebusier should not really engage on these guys. Really what I'm doing, I know that he's got artillery, remember from earlier, so I'm actually just moving into the back and hoping that I can catch sight of the falconets. Good news, I do find them. Bad news is they are well defended, so I think no, those falconets do not go down. Ouch. And that was, what, 10 Shotel warriors I knocked out there? Okay, so as the Ethiopians, you're likely going to go into an infantry-heavy force, although they do have some pretty cool cavalry. I think there's some cavalry strats that I could play and showcase too. But you're likely to go infantry, and of course, if you go infantry, they are likely to go artillery, right? So for you as the Ethiopian player, if you're going to go heavy into Neftenia and Gaskenia, you know falconets are coming. You need to win. Excuse me. You need to win the Culverin War. It is all about getting Culverin out. I don't think they're awful at other parts of this, you know, battle, but the main thing for them is that they can knock out other artillery. These guys are here so that in a long fight we can knock out the falconets, and that will give my Neftenia the breathing room to actually do what they need to do. He's moving in. Yeah, let me actually... for a second. Alright, we've got Hussar in the back. More Hussar up here in the front. Sweden, I think, doing a great job massing up cavalry. I do not have enough Gaskenia. I've got 8. That's not enough to fight this off. And my Culverin. My poor Culverin. This is not good. This is not what you want. Yeah, they go down not doing their job. So, a really bad fight for me. A really good fight for Sweden. I'm sweating a little bit, guys, and this one's not looking so hot. 36 vills for me, Ethiopia, because I did lose a bunch there. 35 for him, so we've equalized out when it comes to our economic numbers. And he has military lead right now. The good news, you know, I do still have double war camps. So I'm able to produce quickly. Although, you know what, come down, he has, yeah, he also has 2 production buildings. Yeah, that hurts. But again, fortunately for me, he backs up. He does not take the fight, giving me breathing room to regroup, recover. The score still says I'm in the lead, but I find that AoE3, even more than AoE2, I think the Age of Empires 2 score does a decent job at implying who is in the lead. AoE3, this scoreboard, you cannot trust. I mean, unless it's, you know, if I had 3 times his score, I'd know I was winning. But here, when it's just a couple thousand points, that could be anybody's game. Right now, I'd say he has momentum. My saving grace is I do have a lot of food stocked up. Honestly, too much food. This, again, I chalk up to the incredible power of the granary. We do see up here. I've not yet gotten the hang of, you know, herding a bunch of different herds back to your town center and, you know, and doing all the hunting out here. So my villagers are a little vulnerable when they go out and hunt. And so that's why I really like the granary. I like how it it consolidates the hunt, and it lets my hunters do their job faster. So I've got a lot of food. I honestly should sell some of that food, pick up some coin, maybe go up to age 4, or try to get out some critical army numbers. I'm finally taking the cavalry force seriously. Picking up Christian schools from the Jesuits. I think I mentioned, or maybe I didn't, that when I went up to age 3, the Jesuits were the tribe, quote unquote, that I allied myself to. They give you not just another mountain monastery, but also a church, letting you pick up several really neat technologies. And, of course, a trickle of XP, which is always nice. Picked up the Ark of the Covenant technology at one of the mountain monasteries, which allows them to gather coin and influence even once they've wrapped up, working the mine that they're standing on, right? So that's a really good long-term technology. Now, I might be using that tech too early. Like in the deck here, I've got Tabot, or Tabot, which gives all of your mountain monasteries more coin to work on. I haven't shipped that. So I probably should ship that before I send the Ark of the Covenant tech, because it's very expensive. It's 2,000 influence. Great late game tech, but I might be shipping that too quickly. Maybe that would be better off spent into more falconets, for example. Honestly, that's probably correct. But here we go. I'm going up to age 4 with the Portuguese. That will give me an arsenal wagon, a couple of fun technologies from the Portuguese, as well as... what else do I get from the Portuguese? I get an arsenal, and I get a couple of unique techs. Of course, I get age 4. I will be picking up the Champion Gasqueña. I think that's what they're called. The age 4 Gasqueña tech. And now I'm messing up my Neftenia behind that. These guys are still my power unit. I am worried about Caroleans, even as I have the cavalry to worry about. And as you can see, that is pretty much his strat. Hussar and Caroleans. That's what's worked for him so far. Why not stay on that? And he does also have the 2 falconets behind that. I am perhaps lucky that he does not have an artillery range out. He's not putting more, getting more artillery onto the field. He is going up to age 4 now as well. And that's going to be critical. Notice the timing here. It's like 29 minutes, about 30 minutes in. When he chooses to go up to age 4 will be really big, as we're going to see in a second. Here comes the Champion Infantry upgrade, which will automatically upgrade all of my infantry. Gasqueña, Neftenia, and Shotel Warriors will all go up to Champion off of this one deck. Off of that one card. Got improved cannon trade coming in, which makes it a little bit easier to get up cannons, because it costs more coin. You start paying coin, but then less influence, so that's really nice. He's still in age 3. I'm in age 4. And I'm trying to do my best to do some damage to his artillery, to his economy. I have a falconet, now a field gun. Ethiopian artillery shadow techs, so that automatically upgrades with every age up. Here we go. Cavalry moving in. I'm going to try to defend my cannon with my Gasqueña. No, I'm just going to... He's down. But I notice... Let me see. He's about any second now. These are age 4 units fighting age 3 units. That's a good fight, even though the numbers are on his side. I will do more damage to him than I otherwise would. Notice these Neftenia. In a bit of desperation, I go into melee mode and get on the falconet. But I'm actually winning this fight now. I have a tech advantage on my opponent. I was able to clear up those Hussar with my Gasqueña. And now my Neftenia can really do their job. I'm trying to kite him back. I want to stay out of the range of the falconet. And meanwhile, I want to whittle away the Caroleans. Simultaneously, I have 15 Shotel Warriors up. I believe we've got another 5 on the way. Yeah, I've got 19 now on the field. And I want to get them on those cannons. That falconet was never repaired. It should go down pretty quickly. There it is. Artillery down, and now my Neftenia can actually finally, the Ethiopians here take a winning battle. And I say that not because the Ethiopians are bad. Again, I've been hyping them up. They're a really awesome civ. I've just been taking some bad fights, little mistakes here and there. So I've been kind of on the back foot this whole time. I finally have a winning fight. I've got a small army. This isn't going to win me the game, but cleared that up. And now I've got a force that I can fortify. I can strengthen this group. And simultaneously my opponent. He's got 2 falconets on the field, but he's having to rebuild from scratch. And we do see he's getting Hussar up. He got up a couple of Karelians. He will get out more, I'm sure. But the resources, at this point, these torps are no longer really doing a whole lot for Sweden. It's running low on food, running low on gold, and that Ethiopian economy is doing an amazing job. Now, at this point in the game, something I'm trying to get a hang of is the late game economy for the Ethiopians. You can build fields as the Ethiopians, and you put 3 villagers on each field, and they can generate either food or coin. You get to decide. If you build them beside a granary, they do collect 10% faster still, and there are technologies you can research at the granary to make your food farmers or your coin farmers collect faster, which is really cool. But it's a little bit harder than for the European civs, because as the Europeans, you just throw down a mill, and that's 10 villagers on 1 mill. Here, I've got to build 3 separate farms and put 3 villagers on each farm, and that makes it, I don't know, just a little bit harder. I guess it helps somewhat as an AoE2 player that I'm used to throwing down a lot of farms, but it's also not quite as smooth, at least not in my experience. So let's see, at this point, I'm moving out with some Gaskenia, trying to get a sense of, you know, what does my opponent's army look like? I can't quite see it. I do have several Sebastopols out. Champion Sebastopols. Alright, we have Neftenia. Not enough in my opinion, but we have Neftenia. We have a couple Shotel warriors. That's critical. These are my anti-artillery guys. That's why I'm moving forward with them. Hopefully I can get some damage in on the Falconets. And I really should have more Culverin. This is why you build Culverin. Sebastopol, though, they can do the job. They are absolutely decimating those Falconets. Bad news, though. Hussar are on my cannons. Do not have the Gaskenia correctly positioned to push back. And, oh, look at that. I get a good shot, but not good enough. Heavy cannons do stay up. And they're going to do bad things to my Gaskenia. This one was weak. I was able to take 1 out, but the other heavy cannon is still in. At this point, his whole army is just artillery. Right? But this, I'd say he won that, but it was a very expensive fight. Notice, by the way, how the Abans were there to provide some healing and really support my army. Because, you know, at this point, the mountain monasteries have really used up their coin. I can't put them on much in the way of economic strength. Back here, these Hussar were trying to raid, and I forget if I already, yeah. At a house, they also have a really cool defensive function. At the houses, you can spend influence to get out levied spearmen, which is kind of your Minutemen for the Ethiopians, levied spearmen or levied bowmen, as you need. And because it's influence, again, it's basically like a free resource. You know, you're not having to spend coin or food to get those units out. Portuguese. I get to ship the Church Organs card. This will send out 5, well, it's 1 organ gun, or a robold in this case. 1 organ gun for every mountain monastery you have. I have 5 right now. I believe 6 is the maximum, but I'm not in age 5. So I've got 5 mountain monasteries. That means 5 organ guns. And I have picked up a lot of my Neftenia buffing cards, including Kua? I don't know how to pronounce that. Kua elites? 2 Sebastopol mortars have been shipped. You guys saw that earlier.
ምንድን ነው የፈለጉት ንጉሥ ሆይ?
Got a couple. Let's see how many items he throws. Okay, yeah, these guys, I need to put them back to work. I had to retreat them because of the Hussar raids. So I kept them alive, but now they're not doing anything. They're as good as dead if they're not working, right? And they need to get back out onto the fields.
Hello.
I also need to remember my organ guns. There we go. They're on their way. The military shipment point is still my starting town center, so they're going to the same place where I'm sending my new vills. There we go. I don't know how useful this is. Maybe someone in the comments can tell me how useful is your Ross in a late game situation like this when you're fighting, right? In Age 3, you can ship Tigre Mekonnen, which not only improves your Neftenia, but it also gives you an extra hero, an extra Ross. I don't know how useful they are. You can see in the tag here, they do bonus damage against heavy infantry, which means, insofar as my Swedish opponent is going into Karelians, my Ross are actually doing bonus damage, which is pretty cool. But here we go. I've got out a lot of artillery. I have out 16 heavy infantry. The Gaskenia are on the field. And a bunch of Neftenia. 35 Neftenia on top of that. This up against 3 leather cannons, 1 heavy cannon, 6 Hussar, and 18 Karelians. The battle is on. And at this point, Sweden actually has a stronger eco, so I definitely want to win this fight. I'm moving in with my heavy infantry first. I'm trying to bait that fight with the Hussar. I want them on the Hussar. I need my Neftenias whittling away the Karelians, and I need my artillery. The rebolds here. There we go. There we go. I did have some culverin. I'm sorry, I did have some culverin. They knock out that heavy cannon. And that means it's finally an infantry versus infantry fight. Yes, Age 4, super-powered Neftenia. They are doing their best to knock out the Hussar and knock out the Karelians. And that is the game. You can see here, he still had some coin in the bank, some resources, but he just had lost enough. It was not working for him. And ultimately did not work. So that is the build. Those are the Ethiopians. It was a lot of fun. Now you'll notice, again, I showed you a game where the Vindian build did not go off according to plan. And I made a couple of mistakes. I didn't ship that wood card as my 3rd card. This would have made my gameplay much stronger, getting out the mountain monasteries faster. You know, my initial push with the Gaskenia didn't really pan out, but this is still a really awesome game, and I think a fun showcase of how the Ethiopians are a really fun civ, and a really powerful civ, using things like the mountain monasteries to get vision across the map and get control of so much of the map. And just a lot of fun, a really fun civilization to play. So if you've never tried the Ethiopians, you should give them a shot. They are a lot of fun. Anyway, guys, that's the video for today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please consider subscribing to the channel, liking the video, leave me a comment, letting me know that you enjoyed watching this Ethiopian AoE3 gameplay. Let me know what you want to see next. I hope you guys enjoyed it. For now, this is the Iron Kaiser, signing off. Have a great one out there.